Hello there, my name's Scott and today I'm going to be doing a review on the Jacvapour Series E kit, which I received from www.jacvapour.com. Before I start though, I must point out I did receive it free of charge for the purpose of conducting a review, but my opinion of the product remains true, honest and accurate as always. Okay, let's go straight ahead and show you in a bit more detail. Okay, so on the Jacvapour website, it appears as though they do a few different options for the Series E kit. The very basic kit is going to come with a Series E battery, a flat top beauty ring, a charger and a travel case. And then from there you can add on your extras like extra batteries, an aero tank for example, atomizer heads, e-liquid, etc, etc. Now the items they sent out to me were the pre-release versions, but as far as I can tell nothing has actually changed from the pre-release version to the full retail version, so hopefully what you see here is going to be what you get. Now they didn't send out a specific kit to me as such. What they did is they sent out the individual items, and what I'm going to do is just show you exactly what I got sent. And as you can see, everything comes in these nicely presented boxes, and inside the boxes I found a Jacvapour Series E 1000 mAh battery, a flat top beauty ring, a USB charger, an aero tank and a travel case. Okay, so I'm going to start off then with the Series E battery, and this was actually designed by Jacvapour, who then sent off the plans to Kangatech, and Kangatech are the guys who are doing the manufacturing side of things. Now the reason why Jacvapour wanted to come up with this battery was because they want to create something that's going to give you a slightly sort of improved performance over your standard Ego batteries, plus also make it aesthetically pleasing. We're going to use it with things such as your mini Nautilus, your aero tanks and your pro tanks for example. Now, it's not trying to take on your ProVeri P3s, it's not trying to take on your DNA 40 mods, it literally is just a improved version and more aesthetically pleasing version of the sort of standard Ego battery. The main body is stainless steel and it's 18.5mm in diameter. From the top edge there to the bottom edge there, I'll measure it at around 68mm in length. If you add on the flat top beauty ring, then a total length becomes 78mm. Inside you have a 1000 mAh battery, and I would like to say it's variable voltage, but I would class it more as steppable voltage. So you have three different voltage settings basically. The lowest setting is 3.7 volts, you then have 4.2 volts, and then the highest one is 4.8 volts. The battery has a 5 amp limit, and also it has some built-in safety features such as overcharge, low drain and short circuit protection. And you can also go as low as 1 ohms with the resistance of your coil at 4.8 volts, but you are going to be right on the edge of that amp limit there, so realistically I'd say 1.2 ohms. On top you're going to find a regular 510 threaded connector, so that means it's going to be compatible with just about any tank atomizers on the market these days. And in the middle you have a sprung loaded centre pin. Now in addition to the regular 510 threading, you've also got the Ego skirted threading here, so if you do have one of those tanks with the Ego skirt, that'll screw on there and work no problems at all. Now like I said, it also comes with this flat top beauty ring, and that just screws straight onto the Ego threading, and then from there you can attach your mini Nautilus or your aero tank for example, and it's just going to make it far more aesthetically pleasing. On the side you're going to find the manual button, and this is what you're going to press and hold down each time you have a vape, and as you can see it's a nice sort of flush finish. Now at the moment the battery is turned off. If I want to turn it on, I just need to tap the button quickly 5 times, and that's it, it's now turned on. And at the moment I'm in the lowest voltage setting, which is 3.7 volts, and that gives you that nice sort of red colour there. Now if I want to increase that to the next step, which is 4.2 volts, just need to tap the button quickly 3 times. Then change to a green colour, and that's it, I'm now vaping at 4.2 volts. And if I want to go up to the top setting, which is 4.8 volts, just once again tap the button quickly 3 times, and that's it, you're going to get a white colour, and I'm now vaping at 4.8 volts. And if you're going to carry it around in your pocket and you're worried about accidental activation, again just tap the button quickly 5 times to turn it off. Like I said, the main body is made out of stainless steel, and as you can hopefully see, you've got this really nice brushed finish on there, which is what I personally prefer. But I've got a feeling though that the body is also coated in some sort of clear I don't know if it's like a lacquer or some sort of finish anyway. Just feels slightly different to the touch compared to the feel of a bare naked sort of stainless steel finish. You do have some laser etching or engraving where it says Jack going around the button there. At the bottom it says Series E, and then on the reverse side it says the milliamp hour of the battery. And you're also going to find some ventilation holes on the base. So this means that if you was extremely unlucky and had a battery venting gases, those gases can escape. Now, if you go for the full Series E kit, now I think there's a choice of two different tanks available. One is the Pro Tank 3, and the other one is their version of the Kanga Aero tank, and that's what they sent out to me here. So I don't want to spend too long on this part of the review. I don't want to sort of make the video too long, but I will give you a very quick guided tour though. So from the top edge there to the bottom edge there, it measures at around 50mm in length, and the diameter is around 18.5mm, so it does go really nicely with the Series E battery, and it's made predominantly out of stainless steel. On the base, you're going to find a regular 510 threaded connector, so that means it's going to be compatible not just with the Series E battery, but with any device that also has a 510 threading. And then just above that, you're going to find the airflow control. Now, as you can hopefully see, you have 3 air holes. You have 1, 2 and 3. And the idea is that if you want to create a tighter draw, you're going to grab hold of the airflow control ring, start to screw that up, and as you cover up those holes, the tighter the draw becomes. Now, it does work, you know, as I tighten this up, the draw definitely does become tighter, and if I wanted to, you can even close it off completely. But the problem is, though, is that there's nothing holding this ring in place. It's just very loose, as you can probably see there. I don't think there's any sort of O-ring inside of it. There's nothing to basically grip it. So what it means is you can get your sweet spot and think, oh yeah, that's exactly the draw that I want. Put it in your pocket, a slight little nudge, and that's it, it's all out of kilter again. So you've got to start all over again and try and find a sweet spot. So yes, it does have an airflow control. It doesn't seem to work overly efficiently though, in my opinion, but I believe they are actually changing this so in future designs. The tank is made out of Pyrex and holds around 2.5ml of e-liquid. And as it is made out of Pyrex, it means you can put any e-liquid in there. You haven't got to worry about them reacting with the material of the tank and causing it to crack. On top, you're going to find a stainless steel mouthpiece, which does come included. But if you're not a fan of stainless steel like myself, you can take that out and put your own favourite one in there. And all the ones that I've tried fit in there nice and snugly. Now, one thing I really like about tanks such as the Aero tank, the Pro tank, the Silo, Nautilus, etc., etc., is the fact that they use these replaceable atomizer heads. Just makes things very, very simple and straightforward to use, especially if you're a complete beginner who just wants a really simple setup just to sort of get yourself up and running. Now, you really can't beat it at all. Now, Jacvapour sent out a few different variations of these atomizer heads. They've got some with Japanese cotton they're doing some testing with. But for the review, I'm just going to stick with the standard one that came included with the Aero tank. Now, you're going to find that one will be pre-installed inside the Aero tank and the other one's going to be a spare one in the box. And this is the spare unused one, which I'm going to use for the rest of the review. Right, so setting up the Aero tank and getting the atomizer installed in the tank filled really couldn't be any easier. Just going to grab hold of the atomizer head and screw that into the base. Next step is to fill the tank up with e-liquid, and to do this you're just going to keep the tank held upright, pour your e-liquid down the inside wall, make sure you don't go down the middle there, and just fill it up until you get to the until the juice comes to the top of that sort of central metal bar. Then, keeping the tank held upright, you can grab hold of the base section, drop that through the middle and screw it all the way down. And then once the tank is all fully assembled and filled up with your e-liquid, you can finish it off by attaching it onto the Series E battery, screwing it all the way down. Grab hold of whatever drip tip you want to use in the end now. I'm going to use one of my favourite ones. It goes in the top, and that's it, it's all good to go. Okay, so that is the Jacvapour Series E. Let's go ahead, see what it vapes like.
Okay, so that was the Series E, and what I'll do now is go ahead and show in action. So I'm going to be using it at the highest voltage setting, which is 4.8 volts. The tanker's got a 1.5 ohm atomizer head in there, and it's also been filled up with some 18 milligram strength tobacco flavoured e-liquid, which is just a PG based e-liquid. Okay, so this is the Series E with the aero tank. And as you can see, vapour-wise, it's producing a very nice amount of vapour. Now, you have to bear in mind though that the amount of vapour you're going to get will come down to how you've got it set up with regards to what voltage setting you've chosen, the type of atomizer you want to use, the resistance of the coil, the type of e-liquid, the airflow, etc, etc. All those things do play a big part in our vapour production, but nevertheless, with the setup I've got here, still getting plenty of vapour. Now, if you're a sub-ohmer or somebody who likes to vape at very high wattages, you're not going to be that particularly impressed with it. But obviously, just bear in mind, it's not trying to compete with you. This is basically an ego battery that's been beefed up slightly and made to look more aesthetically pleasing with sort of popular tanks such as the Mini Aero tank, Mini Nautilus, Pro Tank 3, etc, etc. So obviously, it's not trying to compete with your latest top-end models. It literally is just a slightly beefed up alternative to the standard sort of ego battery. And for most sort of regular vapors who just want to use these to obviously keep them off the cigarettes, the amount of vapour you're getting out of it, I'm absolutely positive will be more than satisfactory for sort of 99% of the people out there. I mean, when I first started vaping, which was just over 6 years ago now, we had tiny little cigarette models to choose from. They held about 0.2 millilitres of e-liquid, so you take about 3 or 4 drags and you'd have to get, well, you didn't even have e-liquid back then, so basically you had to sort of pull the cartridge off and put a new one on. The batteries would last you, if you was a light user, you might get a few hours out of them if you was lucky. Whereas the choice that beginners have these days is infinitely better, and with things like the Series Z, it's just no sort of comparison really. Now, don't get me wrong, at the time, 6 years ago, when I was using those little cigarettes, I thought that was the most amazing thing that I'd ever seen. But if you're going to compare it to the sort of choices that beginners have these days, then there really is a difference between sort of night and day, basically. So, this I think is aimed at the sort of beginner market, or somebody who's maybe been vaping for a while but used to the little cigarette models and want to take the sort of next step up, or anybody who enjoys using the ego models regardless of how long you've been vaping but wants something that does look a little bit nicer with things like the aero tank and the pro tank, and it definitely does look far nicer compared to a sort of standard ego battery. Now, it does have the 3 voltage settings. The lowest one is 3.7 volts, the medium one is 4.2 volts, and the top one is 4.8 volts, which is what I've got it set to at the moment. But there is a bit of voltage drop there though, so you're not really getting 4.8 volts as such. I haven't really got the latest sort of testing equipment out there. I've just got a little sort of inline voltage meter, and when I use that with this 1.5 ohm coil in the aero tank, the 4.8 volts is actually reading 4.4, the 4.2 is reading 3.8, and the 3.7 is reading 3.3. So roughly, with this particular setup anyway, around a sort of 0.4 of a volt drop, 0.4 voltage drop per each voltage setting. That's what I'm trying to say. So when I've got this in the higher setting, it's pretty much sort of similar to using a fully charged battery in like a mechanical mod sort of thing, and it is regulated, so we'll stay at that sort of 4.2 or 4.8 throughout the cycle of the battery. And for me, I am used to sort of vaping things that are a little bit more sort of powerful, compared to this, things like your Aspire Atlantis, 40 watts and a variant, but obviously again it's not trying to compete with that, but I am used to sort of vaping things like that, so it does feel a little bit sort of underpowered for me personally. But if you're a beginner or somebody who's used to enjoying the like the regular ego models, etc, etc, then it's going to be more than perfectly adequate. It's perfectly adequate for me at the highest voltage setting, but the other sort of 2 settings, it does feel a little bit sort of underpowered though. But if you're a complete beginner who's never sort of never vaped before, I'm sure those lower settings will probably feel maybe even a little bit sort of too powerful for you. You know, I think a regular Ego battery, you know, one that isn't sort of variable voltage, I think they're regulated at 3.3 volts. So even on the lowest setting, it's still going to be, well, actually on the lowest setting, it's going to be roughly on par with a sort of standard Ego battery. But then, you know, if you do want to bump it up a little bit, if it's not quite hitting the spot, then you do have those other two choices. Battery life, you've got a 1000 milliamp hour battery in there, and again, just to go back to 6 years when I started, I think they was around 100 milliamps, so you know you've got 10 times the amount of battery life now. And if you're a light user, you could probably get a good couple of days out of it. If you're a sort of a medium to sort of heavy-ish user, I would say, you know, you're looking at about one battery is going to last you sort of around a day, let's put it that way. Like for me, it's just under a day, but if you're, like I said, a medium user, you know, you should get, you know, a good day's worth of use out of it. The button or the switch on it, you know, works perfectly. Every time you press it, it fires up your coals, no problems at all. You can turn it off by tapping it quickly 5 times. You know, if you want to carry it around in your pocket and you're worried about sort of accidental activation, if you tap it quickly 3 times, then you're going to cycle through the 3 different voltage settings. You've got the ventilation holes at the bottom, so if you was, you know, really, really unlucky and did happen to have a battery venting gases, which with these sort of things is really unlikely. I don't want to stress that, but you know, if it did happen, then you know, obviously those gases do have at least a slight chance of being able to escape. You've also got the sprung-loaded centre pin, which I think is an upgrade on the compared to the regular sort of Ego batteries. It's been a while since I've had a regular Ego battery in my possession. That was given away a long time ago, but I'm pretty certain they was a fixed centre pin, whilst on this one is sprung-loaded. So in theory anyway, no matter what sort of atomizer you put on there, you should always get that a really good connection out of it. So not too sure what else I can really tell you. I suppose I could talk about the aero tank, but the review really is more about the like the battery and the sort of aesthetics. But you know, the aero tanks, I'm a big fan of them. Like one of the Mega aero tank is one of the sort of items I use on a very regular basis. That and the silo tank, and I seem to sort of switch between them. And I'm a big fan of the mini aero tank, the mini Nautilus. That's a really cracking vape as well. Not had too much of a go on a Pro Tank 3, so I won't sort of talk too much about that, but the aero tanks, I'm a big fan of them, perform really nicely. And the only thing about this particular one that was less than impressive was the airflow control. I mean, it does work if you start to cover up the holes and the jaw does become tighter, but like I said in the close-up shots, you only need a slight little knock, and that's it, you completely lost that setting, because the actual ring, the threading, just seems to be a little bit sort of too loose. There's quite a bit of play there, and there's nothing to actually sort of make it grip. So I've just been leaving it all the way down and having it in the most wide open setting. And like that, the jaw it's not tight, but it's not loose. It's just sort of right there in the middle and just sort of a nice draw basically. But you know, the aero tank is very easy to use. Again, perfect for a complete beginner. All you got to do is take an atomizer head, screw it in, fill it out with e-liquid, and that's it, you're vaping, you know. And they also hold a decent amount of juice as well, like 2.5 mil, which again, compared to 6 years ago, where I think it was something like, you know, 0.2 mil of e-liquid, you know, it's going to keep you going for, you know, for hours at a time, basically. Okay, so you know, if you're a sub-ohmer, it's not going to be of any interest to you. If you like vaping at higher watts, again, it's not going to be of any interest to you. If you're a complete beginner, definitely consider it. If you're a person who likes or used to using these sort of little cigarettes, want to take the next step up, again, you should really consider it. If you're a regular Ego user and really enjoy using your Ego batteries, but you would like something that's going to look more aesthetically pleasing with things like the aero tank, and again, you know, it's worth considering. But like I said, it's not going to be for the high-end vapors. It's more for the sort of beginner market, and it's you know, it does a great job at that. Okay guys, like I said, not too sure what else I can really tell you about it. You know, if you do fancy trying out for yourself, go along to www.jacvapour.com. Thank you very much for watching. Also come along and visit my website at www.e-cig-reviews.com. That's e-cig-reviews.com. Cheers guys, happy vaping. See you later.